Ridley Scott's highly anticipated sequel of 2024, Gladiator 2, has been out for a little while now. Today, I'm finally going to give you my thoughts on it. Hello everybody, my name is Jesse and welcome to my channel. Gladiator 2 was one of my most anticipated movies of 2024. I saw it about a week ago and today I finally have time to give you my full thoughts on this movie, and after thinking about it a little bit more, I think I've finally come to a conclusion in how I feel about this movie, so let's get right into it. Gladiator 2 was very entertaining. I will say that right out of the gate.
Are you not entertained?
I was very entertained, just unfortunately not quite as much as the original Gladiator, and I'm just gonna say this right at the beginning, that this could be a 20-minute video of me just comparing this movie to the original Gladiator and pointing out every little detail and why it's not quite as good, but that would honestly just be unfair to this movie because I never thought this movie really was going to stand up to the first one. I never expected it to. The original Gladiator is one of my favorite movies of all time, always has been. Everything about that first movie is absolutely perfect in my opinion. So I never really expected this movie to fill those gigantic shoes, and so I went in with reasonable expectations and I really did enjoy this movie for what it was. I've seen a lot of people complaining that this movie is kind of just a retelling of the first movie, and while that is kind of true in a sense, I think the first little while does sort of follow the same kind of steps. After a while, it does start to go its own way, tell its own story, which I really appreciated. So a few of the really big positives that I want to point out in this movie: the action is 100% stepped up a notch. All of the Coliseum fight battles are insane. They really up the ante with everything they do here. The movie opens with a big, exciting fight sequence that's great. So there's some really cool action in this movie, and I think that is one of its biggest things that it has to offer. Is the action is certainly stepped up a notch. What they were able to do with the action in this movie was great and really entertaining. And a couple of the performances that I really want to shout out are Pedro Pascal and Denzel Washington. Pedro Pascal plays this kind of general of Rome that Lucius Paul Mescal's character, the main character, is after this entire time. He's the person that kind of fuels his hatred in this film, and that's what really sets up the whole movie, is what he does in the opening minutes. I'm not going to spoil anything in this review, but he is essentially, in Lucius's eyes, the main villain and who he's after the whole time. I thought Pedro Pascal was great in this role. I enjoyed every scene that he was in. He had some great moments, and especially his final scene with Lucius himself was really entertaining to watch. And the other huge standout in this movie, gigantic scene stealer, was Denzel Washington. Denzel Washington is actually one of the biggest reasons why I was very excited for this film. He's one of my favorite actors of all time, I would say. He just has such a presence in every single role he has, and you feel that especially here. It is so much fun to see him play a villain. Yes, he is a villain really in this movie. He has his own schemes, and he is basically the person that buys Lucius as a slave / gladiator in this movie. And what he does, every scene with him is really entertaining to watch. All of his costumes were great. His line delivery is fantastic, and he just has such a menacing presence in this movie that I really loved. And every time he was off screen, I found myself looking forward to the next time we would see him, and it was really fun to see what he was doing behind the scenes plotting his own schemes. And that kind of leads me into another big positive is the costumes, the production design, set design, all of that were again kind of stepped up a notch in this movie and something that was really fun to see. I think all of the complex costumes that they were able to create for these characters was great. Now, when it comes to negatives with this movie, it really, like I said at the beginning, it really is just kind of unfair to this movie to compare it to that first Gladiator. And just really a lot of the issues that I had with this movie were just things that weren't done as well in the first movie. Like, I think Paul Mescal does a great job in this lead role. I think he's a worthy predecessor to Russell Crowe's Maximus, but he's just not as interesting as Maximus as a character. I think when compared to all of the supporting characters, Denzel Washington, Pedro Pascal, and the twin brother emperors, I just think he's one of the least interesting characters in the movie. He's not bad. I still enjoyed everything that he had to offer. He had some great moments. Watching this movie, I constantly found myself looking forward to the next time we would see any of the supporting characters whenever he was on screen. And the story itself here just is not quite as interesting as the first Gladiator. Again, like I said, it does definitely have some of the same elements in the first 30 minutes to an hour, but after that, it really does start to tell its own story of Lucius trying to fill the shoes of Maximus and kind of take back Rome, what was Marcus Aurelius's vision of a utopia in Rome. He's trying to take over and complete that. And the story just wasn't quite as interesting to me. This is kind of more of a nitpick. It's kind of a more minor thing. It doesn't really play any part in the actual story, but I thought the score was severely lacking in this movie, which it's hard to get a score as good as that first one, especially when it was Hans Zimmer, probably the greatest movie composer of all time, doing that first movie. But I thought the music was severely lacking in this movie. Again, more of just a personal nitpick. It doesn't really play into the actual movie, but there was something that I missed. Overall, I did find myself really enjoying this movie, and I think I will go back to it eventually. I will enjoy rewatching it. If you've seen this movie, let me know down in the comments below what you thought of it. I would love to chat more about it and hear your thoughts, so let me know. I have a bunch of other videos planned for the rest of this month, so stay tuned for those. And in the meantime, like this one, subscribe to my channel, and keep watching movies. Goodbye.